everybody, this is your reading for Friday the 1st of December. Thanks for joining me. I'm using the Robin Wood Tarot for today's reading again, so let's have a look at what the cards want you to be aware of. Okay, wow. So lots of powerful energy. We've got two major arcana cards, so big themes, and then we have the Eight of Wands, which is a minor arcana card, so something more temporary. So first of all, it's a good thing this card is in reverse. By the way, you know, the great thing about the tarot, and I don't mean to just go off on a tangent, but a lot of people are scared of using the tarot because it has cards like Death and the Tower and the Hanged Man and things like that. The fact of the matter is that face reality, you know. I'm sorry, but we're going to die. Sometimes things blow up and terrible things can happen. That's just a fact of life. So people who do their own tarot cards and then get rid of these cards and change it into something else, or people who can't use the tarot because it's just too upsetting and shocking. It's just like, you know, get a grip of yourself. So first of all, we've got the Death card in reverse, and the Death card in reverse very simply means new life, new beginnings. It's the opposite of death. It's a rebirth. It's a new beginning. And in this deck, we've got Death in this red robe. We've got this beautiful little butterfly, which is really in contrast to this inexorable natural force that we've got. Okay, so, you know, you can't argue with death. And this tiny little butterfly that lives for a couple of days, is very fragile and is very delicate. It's a nice kind of juxtaposition. And then we have this big white rose of purity and spirituality and logic and thinking and reason. And death is kind of, you know, in between the two. It's something that we accept and that we have to accept, and it's just one of those things. But then we also fear it terribly. We have this fear of death, and what's going to happen? Is it just going to be nothing, or do we go on to live this afterlife? So it's a big theme in terms of the card being in reverse today. There's an opportunity for you to begin something new, to make a fresh start. And also, we've had a lot of that energy floating around for a while this week about with doorways and being able to kind of move into a more prosperous and happy future. So there's a sense of kind of building something and something new appearing. Now, this is the first day of December, and the first day of December and the daily readings on the first day, I always think are really significant because they kind of give us a flavor for the rest of the month. So you have the opportunity to use your intellect and your mind and your spirituality to really open up your mind and to really think, what in an ideal world could I be? What if I stop putting all these limits on me, on myself? Where would I end up? What is the most glorious thing that could possibly happen? If you think along those lines, you're going to have an emotional response. The emotional response will be one of excitement and enthusiasm. And it's like, oh my goodness, that would be so great. So I really feel that you're inspired here on the 1st of December, that you really get something going in terms of how you see your future. The next card is the Star, and that's one of the most positive and hopeful cards in the deck. It really means hope, basically, because what the Star is able to do, she's like Pluto or she's like Scorpio. What she's able to do is she's able to get vulnerable with good stuff and bad stuff. Again, facing reality. I think that's going to be a theme as well. It's like, look at your life as it is in earnest and see what you can do. And facing your life in earnest can be really hard. I mean, if you do a personal inventory of yourself and you say, you know, my decades of drug taking have ruined this family, then looking at that and facing reality is going to feel pretty awful, because there's no excuse. If you have just, you know, gone to prison 8 times in that period and your family has just been worried and it's just been a nightmare with you, then facing up to that reality is really hard, but it's the first step that you need to take, and take accountability for it if you want the future to change. If you don't face up to it, ever, then you're just going to repeat the same things, and you're just going to keep being in denial, and you're going to keep going around on the merry-go-round and nothing's ever going to change. So the star is amazing because she can take the worst things that you've done and she can transform that and let it go. And she can also take the best things that you've done and transform that and see them and make herself vulnerable. That's what the nudity is about. It's not about, you know, being, I don't know, interesting in some way because it's a naked woman. It's meant to be vulnerability and really getting naked with yourself and getting really honest with yourself. So it doesn't matter if you've done something terrible. I mean, I remember I was sitting at a meeting one time and because I'm in recovery, and the guy next to me said, oh yeah, and then I killed my wife, but what do you expect? I'm an alcoholic. I just thought, no, I'm an alcoholic as well. I didn't kill any of my partners. Take some responsibility, for God's sake. So that if he had been able, he was able to do that in some way by absolving himself of responsibility. But the better way of doing things is if you have done something like that, to say, I did it, but just because I did that doesn't mean that I have to kill myself or live with the guilt forever. I watched this documentary yesterday, and there was a guy in it, and his mother had two sons. He was one of the sons, and one of the boys died when he was very young, and the mother lived on for another 30 years, and he said that after the death of the son, my mother never smiled again for 30 years. Can you imagine that? To hang on to your pain and your suffering for 30 years, that's something perverse almost, where you're getting off on the pain, where you're unable to let it go because you're getting something out of it almost. And then that in itself, that pain has an effect on everyone else. Imagine the son who never saw his mother smile again. Imagine how the rest of his childhood went. Probably not that positive. So hurt people. Your pain and hanging on to your pain is going to affect those around you negatively. And it's time to look at stuff, to take responsibility, to say, yes, I did that, but I can let it go. I can let it be washed away by the grace of the universe, if you're that way inclined, if you believe in something bigger. If not, it just means that if you let go of it and if you make yourself accountable and you're open with yourself, you can let your light shine again. Because deep down, regardless of what you've done, in spiritual truth, you're perfect and you're a good person. You're an amazing person. You know, if you're a little bit blunt like me sometimes, that doesn't make me that doesn't make me a bad person. It just makes me a little bit blunt. You know, so we all have these negative and positive things within us. And by looking to the future, new life, and letting go of the stuff that has happened in the past, you're able to rediscover yourself, you're able to transform yourself, and you're able to let your true light shine and to make a positive impact on the world. And you can do that even if you have murdered someone. You know, even if you have murdered someone in your 20s or 30s, if you do, for instance, like that guy I was talking about, if you do turn things around, and who knows, he could have been the next Louis Pasteur. Who knows if he went to university and studied chemistry or biology or whatever. It's never the end of the journey. If you're alive today, you're still on a journey. Otherwise, you wouldn't have this day. Every day means something. Then we have the Eight of Wands. The Eight of Wands is news coming in, positive news. We've got the good luck planet Jupiter there, the moon and the earth. So good fortune about the way you feel, or news comes in that makes you feel good. And wands are life purpose and passion. So it's something to do with a dream that you want to realize. The suit of wands is fire. Look at all that red we've got there, new beginning. So there's a new start in terms of something that you've dreamt of doing for a long time. A door opens. Maybe you get some news that your book is being published, or you get a yes on the job application and interview, or you get some amazing news that, oh my God, you've been picked up by a radio show and they love what you're doing and they are offering you a slot on their amazing radio show, and that's the news that then makes you feel good, and that's good luck. But that only happens if you really get honest with yourself and say, oh, despite the fact that I did all of this really badly for the last 10 years, this is my dream. I'm going to pursue it, and you can still do it. because you have an amazing spark of the divine within you. And when you get rid of all this guilt and rubbish and pain that we all hang on to, and you stop obscuring your light with all of that negative energy, then you can truly blossom and you can truly make a contribution to this world, which needs a lot of help. I mean, all of us who've been here for more than, 15 years know that this place is difficult. And each person, if each person makes a positive contribution, or if each person would make a positive contribution, the world would be a much better place. But unfortunately, none of us are perfect. All of us are angry and disappointed and in pain sometimes, and that's the problem. So we need all the help we can get, as far as I'm concerned. Today is a wonderful day to do that, and the help comes from within by making yourself vulnerable. And it's not like you've got good luck coming your way, so externally you're getting stuff in, but also internally you just blossom and you open up. 13 and 17 is 30, and 8 is 38. 3 and 8 is 11, and 11 is the master number of service, unsurprisingly. So your light and ditching all of your guilt and pain and resentment and disappointment and faulty beliefs about how you can never do anything right, when you detox from those and you really let your light shine, that's how you can be of service. And in my experience, which is why I'm not afraid of the tarot and why I love using it, because light and dark are very interchangeable. And in my experience, the people who've had the worst, darkest, most horrible nights of the soul, or the darkest experiences, often end up being the most positive influences in other people's lives. What I've also noticed is that can often go back and forth, so it's not a constant. So that's the other thing. Never, put anyone on a pedestal and say, oh my God, you've gone through all these experiences, you're such an amazing person. You're an amazing person. You've had your own experiences. It's just that we never look at our own stuff the way we look at other people's. You've overcome amazing things in your life. Today is another day to really get honest with yourself. Look at what the dream is, the ultimate dream. And then go for it. Something will open up for you internally, or you'll get some news via the actual physical world. So I hope you have a great day. If you'd like a private reading with me, then please get in touch via my website. It's gregoryscott.com. Click on the Readings tab to order your reading, and I use astrology, tarot, and numerology in my readings. The astrology gives me a blueprint of your soul, shows me why you've come back this time around, what you're going to be good at work-wise, whether it's employment, self-employment, and the content of that work. What's coming up in future in terms of your love life, your career, promotions, physical health, family matters, spiritual progress. You can look at anything like that if you've got a question about it. Please remember to subscribe to this YouTube channel, and I'll speak to you tomorrow.